Hey guys, so today I'm here and I'm going to be sharing a paranormal experience that my boyfriend had when he was younger, and I figured this would be a really good one to share. We're a little over halfway. I think we're coming up towards the end. I believe we're probably 20 something days in. I'm not really sure how I'm putting these out just yet as I'm filming, but this was an experience he shared with me that he felt was really good to pretty much put out there that he had, because also he wants to know if anybody else had an experience like this. Going back to when he was younger, him and a group of friends were pretty much playing through like this path. I don't want to say what the name is because then it will give it away way too much on where we live. So sorry, but pretty much this path, and it used to be this old, how do I put it without giving it away? Pretty much it was a big old like thing where a lot of people worked through, it was a really main thing through the city. It was one of the first of its kind ever in the world to get made, and but while it was happening, a lot of people did die there. There was a lot of stuff happened in that spot. But nobody really talks about it or anything like that. And so I don't know how else to really put that without giving it away, so I'm very sorry. But him and this group of friends are all playing, and they pretty much used to play like Manhunt, where when it was like pretty much almost like completely dark but not fully, so it's just like that slight blue out, they would go out and play Manhunt, where pretty much it's hide and go seek but in the dark. And him and his one friend stayed together, and they were going off on the spot to hide. And when you were on this path you could get off, and when you did, it kind of was like a trestle that went lower. But pretty much when you got off this path, there was like a trestle, and there was like all these side paths that obviously, because of people going through it anyway, that you could like go down like this kind of like slightly steep, but it's not too deep but deep enough, like trestle almost in it. So that's where him and his friend went to go hide, and they were trying to find a good spot to go look and all that. And him and his one friend, he's still friends with him today. Actually, that's the guy I talked about in my Ouija board experience. I called him Stove, I believe, in that experience. So him, actually, they've been friends since they were little kids. So they were going off to play. Now, mind you, as they're going and looking, all of a sudden, they were by this telephone pole. Oh, see, it would be so much easier, like, if I wish I could tell you guys exactly what it is, because you guys would, a lot of people could easily look up pictures of it on Google, but I feel like that'd be a bad idea. So, either way, they were by this telephone pole, and while they were by this pole and they went to pretty much go look for another spot, they ended up getting like this weird feeling. At first they thought it was like, oh, one of these friends may be cheating to go look on where they're hiding, blah 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 type of deal. But when they ended up looking up on the path, so not down in the trestle but right above the trestle where it could start, where you could get off of it, there is this weird type of white gray figure, and it is of a man. Like, it almost looks like, but the thing was, is that when he explained it to me, it's like, it was really bright and pretty clear, like all up in this area. And his friend tried to explain it to me too, so I could try to get as detailed as possible. But like this area here was the most brightest, but as it got lower into the body, it was more faded and not as bright. Sorry about the truck. But as it faded, it was not as bright. So it was like dimming down here, but up here was the brightest. And at first they're like, oh, like that's a weird looking man. And they thought at first, they said that by the way it was, for that quick second, they thought maybe it was like a plastic bag in the wind. But then they realized as it came through like the little bit of brush you could kind of see, that they realized, oh, like that's like a man. Like, why is there a man up here? Because mind you, they did this all the time. It was one of the things they were allowed to do pretty much before bed. They did it all the time, and then they would all have to go home because they all lived around this area, and they would all go home. But they thought it to be weird because they were there all the time and never saw anybody. Then they're kind of just looking at the man as he's kind of just going, and then they realize this guy, whatever it is, okay, that while he was like really going through, so now it's like not so much brush, it's very clear in the one area, because like I said, a lot of people walked through it a lot, so they made almost like a clearing in it. So then you could full out see, like, this is a man, but yet he is like kind of glowing, and he is like semi-transparent, because semi through it they can kind of see the background of like where the path kind of is, because like, I don't know, at the time it was like kind of some bricks, kind of some path, it's hard to explain, and then some trees, and you could kind of see this through the man. And this was one of his first ever experiences he had as a kid. Same with his friend. and they've never been able to explain it. But as it's going by, it ends up like kind of staring at them, and they realize like, oh God, like he's looking at us too now. And then the weird thing is that then it stops and it's continuing to stare at them. And they wanted to make sure I was very clear at this part. Takes and continues to walk a little bit, turns around, but the whole time makes sure to quickly do this again, so he's watching them. Then does it again, and mind you, they're sitting there, they're frozen, they don't know what they're doing. They're just frozen, they're looking at whatever this is. And then it ends up getting to like where that people made their own path to kind of pretty much get into the trestle. It ends up while it's walking this way again, looking at them, starting to go down that path. They ended up freaking out. They ran. To get out of the one part of the trestle, like unless you were going to go back that way, and obviously they were not going to go back that way because that's where whatever that thing was there. They ended up having to pretty much try to scale like this weird kind of where it was like a canal type thing trestle, so where some of the old building kind of was. It's hard to explain, like the wall thing, they ended up like climbing up like to get up onto the other side of the path, but on the other side, it's so hard to explain unless you know it. But they ended up climbing up that, mind you, they are little kids, and they are scrambling up like this weird wall thing, and it's not really that big. And like even if I go back and look at it now, because we still randomly walk through the path if we're out walking, it's not that big, but if you're a little kid, that is big, and that is a lot, and that is dangerous. So they ended up climbing up it to get to the other side of the path so they can kind of just see. Now mind you, that's not considered the path anymore, but still it's in the area of the path. I don't know how else to put that other than that. But then when they went to go look back real quick, they could not see the thing, and then, oh, I scared myself. Oh my God, I just scared myself so bad. My own phone, because I'm talking all about all this creepy stuff. Okay. So then, when they looked back and they didn't see him at first, so then they're like, okay, and then they looked again, they could see him for just a hot second to the telephone pole area where they once just were before they ran, and then it just disappeared. Then they screamed for everybody else, like all the other kids that were playing Manhunt and their group of friends, and there was like a few others of them, screamed, and they all came out, and they just like, you know, they ran to where they knew like about-ish where the friends normally like hide to go look for the other kids, pretty much where they have to like not look. So they ran towards that way where they knew that's where the people who are hunting go, and they didn't look back after that because they didn't know like when it disappeared where it was going to reappear again. But either way, like my boyfriend says he looks back on that now and he didn't feel a malintent, but it still was incredibly creepy, where it just freaks him out. And every time we walk through that path, he's always like kind of looking, like not in like a weird way, but like not like he's afraid, but in a way where he's like, yo, I'm older now, like what was that kind of deal. And he's taking me down the path and showed me exactly how it was. It's a little bit harder now, but because they started to rebuild it and all that, so you can't do like the full thing. But before they started doing construction, he got to fully show me how it happened where. And let me tell you, if that was me and I was a kid, I would probably have passed out, because yeah, that's me. But definitely intense. His friend was telling me about it too, but I figured I would share with you guys if you guys had a similar experience. Definitely know down below. I love knowing about your guys' experience so much. It means the world to me reading them. Alright, thank you guys so much. Please be sure to subscribe, and another video will be up tomorrow. There's another experience he wants me to share with you guys, and it's actually one of the places that are considered the 7 gateways to hell. So if you guys would like to know about that, be sure to be subscribed and check out tomorrow's video. Alright, thanks guys. Bye.